walkers, crawlers, blood, guts, and all that is zombie. It's time for Tony and Josh to recap this week's AMC's The Walking Dead.
Oh my God. I mean, it was a pretty exciting episode, Josh. This is, we're of course talking about Heads Up Season 6, Episode 7. I think this is the one last episode before the, what are they calling it? Winter holiday finale?
Mid-season finale. It's the mid-season finale eve.
All right. Well, but it's certainly because of the holidays coming up, I'm sure, or they're trying to extend this thing out as much as possible since they only do about 8 episodes a year. Good God, no wonder it pisses me off.
Yeah, right. Well, this episode certainly is what is to be first of a few that are really going to take a different turn. They're going to crank open the nos a little bit and really take this show into another gear. Now, we heard, I recapped briefly a little bit of a excerpt from an interview with Norman Reedus recently where he said this, like, we know this has been a season of more questions than answers. The answers are coming. And, you know, we've been getting the ball rolling this whole time. We're about ready now to shove that ball right off the cliff. And
it scared me.
That's pretty, I'm paraphrasing slightly, but that's pretty close to verbatim. So he's, you know, kind of an inside peek as to, from the cast, saying, yeah, we know this has kind of started off kind of slow, but just wait, it's going to be worth it. And this and we saw right at the very end of this episode just how much things are turning and things are getting very exciting in Alexandria. That's for sure.
You know, I wonder if they have a meeting and they're told what they can and can't talk about, because
that's pretty pro quo for Hollywood though. I mean, it's if you're working. I mean, because part of the contract is you got to go on the shows and you gotta talk and you got to promote and stuff like that. But there's only so much that they're allowed to say, and this is kind of industry standard as far as a non-disclosure, as it were. And it's just that you can't talk about, you know, stuff that hasn't happened yet, or stuff that hasn't been released yet,
it'd be easy for someone to let something slip. So I wonder.
That's why professional actors are very, very careful about what they say during interviews.
They got to be careful eventually, but you got to think on some of the new ones here. And I haven't looked up all the ones that have come and gone in this show, but you have to figure some of them were kind of new to the whole acting thing. So, you know, I would just throw that across my mind, because you could, you know, accidentally really let something slip and get in some big trouble. So I bet you they have a meeting about this is what you can talk about, this is what you don't want to talk about. I'm sure a lot of it comes second nature after a while, but I'd be nervous if I was a major character on a major show, because I'd probably go out there and spill my guts.
You guys I can't wait to tell you what's coming up next.
Oh, and then
you guys are not going to believe this.
And then Rick dies, you know, that type of thing.
So no, it's certainly been one of those seasons so far. And I'm definitely looking forward to, well, I'm not looking forward to the hiatus, but I'm looking forward to next week's show for sure. Now, this
it ought to be a big one because it's a final one. Oh, and I do want to mention real quick, spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about this episode, and if you haven't seen it, and you want to see it and you want to be surprised, don't listen. Go put it on pause, put this on pause, go watch it and come back. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Of course, the big news, and you guys have had your warning here. I'm pretty much the one thing that has tainted this whole episode. And really, this is the first of the answers that we've been long awaiting for. Glenn is alive.
Yeah. I told you. I
have a little problem with this.
Well, based on what you were saying, I can certainly understand why you would.
So when Glenn died, was it episode 604, 603?
Glenn didn't die.
But Glenn didn't die. Well, when we thought Glenn
when we were led to believe, when the jury was misled.
I mean, so much so that they were taking his name out of the credits and stuff. I mean, it went that far. But there were little things like the actor wasn't on Talking Dead after his alleged death, which is a big red flag as far as, well, is his character really dead or not? There were several other signs and things that, and of course, the massive online conspiracy theory tidal wave that erupted
Love the
after that
pictures.
episode.
Love the pictures of somebody actually trying to fit underneath a dumpster.
Oh yeah, no, and I called it too. I was just like, look,
You're
you can
right.
go back and look. There's 4 inches underneath of that. So either they switched the storyline and or the prop right in the middle of things for whatever reason, whether to carry on a storyline or to satisfy the fans. I don't know
throw
what.
us off. Make
Either
sure there was
that or
no
else
way.
Either that or else he is the thinnest Asian alive. I swear to God, this guy. How do you fit underneath a dumpster?
I'm telling you, Maggie must really love him.
Wow, I guess. So no, I mean that is certainly the big thing is Glenn is alive. Of course he's alive. So
were you waiting for something
how
bad?
He stayed alive was climbing, squirming underneath Nicholas. And while Nicholas was being dismembered and eaten alive, more or less, well, not really alive, he was certainly dead before he hit the ground. And he shimmied himself. Glenn shimmied himself underneath that dumpster, and while other zombies were trying to claw and grab at him, he would stab them as they came underneath, and basically created himself a little nest, a little pocket,
nice
complete with a zombie barricade.
And I guess he was there for a pretty good while because he ran out of water. Now, I don't know how much water he had, but certainly, you can go a fairly good length of time without having to have some water. So I don't know how hot it was underneath there. I don't know. It's like 3 days have passed since the zombie apocalypse because this thing moves so slowly. So I don't know. It's still maybe midsummer there. But it was interesting to see that he was underneath there. And I don't know about you, Josh, but I was concerned every time I saw him on this episode, every time I saw Glenn on this episode, I was thinking something was going to happen to him where he was going to get killed or bitten, where his character was going to be dead. Now, of course, it could always still happen, but at least it didn't happen in this episode. But I really thought he was dead. And then once he was alive, I thought they were going to pull the rug out from underneath us and kill him off.
Here you go. And nope, we're taking it back. Yeah, that's this. Well, now I released a little bit of a spoiler based on the comic book storyline, which for the most part, the AMC TV series has followed relatively closely. And where if they follow the comic book, we know that Glenn is going to die. We also know that the Sergeant Ford guy, Abraham.
Yeah, Abraham.
Abraham is also going to die. Both by the hand
It's
or by
surprising
the bat of the same character.
Surprised that he didn't die last episode.
Good Lord, seriously now. So here, there's a couple big things that I want to talk about. Mainly, the one I want to get to is what happened at the very last scene of this episode.
Okay.
But I don't know if there's anything that we want to talk about before then.
Oh,
there's several things that kind of bothered me. Some things that I'm worried about. Some plot lines that I'm wondering how they're going to finish out or how they're going to string this out and whatnot. Namely, the whole thing with Carl and Ron.
That's what I was going to say is jump around. Let's have fun with this. We don't need to. I mean, people see the show. They know what the chronological order is.
So the writing is on the wall. We know that Ron is butthurt about Carl making the moves on Enid.
Is it that, or is it his dad?
Oh, absolutely. I'm pretty sure.
I think it's killing of the dad. I think he's after Rick.
No, he's definitely after Carl, and the reason why I say that is because of the body language, the interactions between he and Carl, especially in the scenes where Enid was around or had just been around or something like that. There's definitely this love triangle thing going on. And there's definitely some jealousy and some animosity. Now, there is animosity for, I think, that you're the son of the guy who killed my dad.
Possibly, yeah, I can see
type
that.
of thing. But I don't think that the sins of the father are going to be, cast upon the son, so to speak. I don't think that Carl is going to be the scapegoat for Ron's anger against his dad being killed. I think that Ron is going to go after Carl because of Enid and because Enid's not around anymore. And Carl, I think, was the last one to see her. So there's some things that are adding up, and the whole scene with Ron making that whole distraction in the pantry. The gal goes around to go investigate. Ron steals some ammunition, and he's now got a loaded gun that he is creeping from behind towards Carl, slowly raising this loaded weapon up behind him.
I know this is kind of like the same deal with Glenn not being able to fit under the dumpster, but Ron is just learning how to shoot a gun. Do you think they have all the same caliber handguns? How did he know which bullets to get?
That's a very good question. Very valid point, in fact. And one of the things that I kind of had a problem with this episode, if he really was as naive to guns as his character is being portrayed as, then there's no way in hell that he would have been able to distinguish the different kinds of rounds, let alone which gun that he has and what it requires.
So
there's not a big difference between a 357 and a 308.
No. So asking Rick for help may have gave Rick a false sense of security, thinking that this young man has changed his thought process and he's wanting to become part of the team. He wants to be a survivor. And let's give him a gun. Maybe that was a way for him to get the gun so he could walk around with it.
That would assume that
that's a lot
Rick
of thinking for a kid.
And Carl are both so, I guess, ignorant to the fact that we just killed this kid's dad like a week ago.
Yeah, but it was sanctioned. It was okay. He was nuts. He killed somebody, so he had to be killed. See, yeah, I'm telling you, man, you lose a dad, it's a lot more important than losing a girlfriend. And besides that, she's not actually lost. She's just let's say in play.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So
that's for sure. And I thought that she was going to get Glenn killed a couple of times.
Yeah, that was, what is up with her? She is
I don't know, but I've had it about
turtle poisoning that she's dealing with there. I don't know. It's she's got a big chip on her shoulder. That's for sure.
Yeah, I've had it right about up to here with this whole teenage rebellious BS. No,
it didn't seem like the thing to do in a zombie apocalypse. I mean, she's got
definitely not. She's on some big temper tantrum right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And next, she's going to start stomping her feet and fisting up and crying and stuff. And no, there's no crying in the zombie apocalypse.
There's no, yeah. Well, they're not while they're zombies. You never cry in front of the zombies.
So yeah, I've got a problem with her. I've seen a couple of sneak peeks of episode 608, the mid-season finale, and there's definitely a focus on Enid and Glenn, of course, amongst other things. But there's this poignant scene where Glenn and Enid come up to Alexandria and they see the horde of zombies and they see that the church steeple has fallen on the wall and that the wall has fallen and the zombies are making their way into the city.
Maybe they're being polite. Maybe they're being polite and waiting to be invited.
So, and of course, Enid's like, well, that's it. We're all dead. And I give up. And of course, and Carl's just like, no, there's people alive in there. Here's the plan. This is what we're going to do. Yada, yada. And Enid's, of course, just breaking down as a 14-year-old girl's going to do in the zombie
that's pretty
apocalypse.
Amazing considering her going off on her own and being so stern in her ability just to go out there on her own. And
she thinks she's awfully independent, but really when the S hits the fan, not so much.
I guess so.
I don't know. But here's okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I probably need to wait for you to finish your thought, but what's the gentleman's name that the remaining relative of Deanna? Because I wanted to talk about what the hell he was thinking when he was trying to cross that rope.
What's his face? Spencer.
Spencer. Okay, let's circle back to Spencer whenever you get done with this point.
No, that's for the most part it. That's good enough as far as I can complain about Enid and her attitude all night long. But
so you can put Enid and Sasha in the same category now because you've had
you really could because Sasha's kind of had the same little almost like I'm expecting a pity party. I hate everything. I hate everybody. Oh, poor me, yada, yada. And, just get pissed off and butthurt about everything and take it out on everybody. Yeah, that's a good thing to do in the zombie apocalypse.
Well, it's certainly understandable that people are going to have emotional issues in such a stressful world that they live in without really any possible solution. So anyway, let's talk about this guy that throws the thing with the tri hook.
Okay, so we have to take this back even further because we saw in the last episode Spencer kind of stepping up to the plate a little bit and trying to kind of fill the big boy shoes of, and we saw him kind of doing it almost two-faced-ish, because he'd give this great speech in the pantry about how we all got to come together,
that's the point.
and we're all in this together, and we all got to, do our thing and do our part and abide by the rules and all this stuff. And then in the same breath and with the other hand, he's jacking some food and some liquor.
Yeah, that's my point, is that now he's risking his life to get out, to crawl over the zombies. And
okay, however, remember in the last episode, he had this interaction with his mother. Deanna came in and he was already 3 sheets to the wind, drinking the ill-begotten whiskey or whatever.
Guilty, I got you.
Yeah, and then that whole comment about his dad and how it's her fault or whatever, and I'm thinking that maybe he guilted himself into thinking that, okay, I've got to do something. He came up with a halfway decent plan.
It wasn't a bad plan.
Wasn't a bad plan. No judgment here. And in fact, Rick said, I thought about that, and had you come to me, we could have talked about it. We probably could have figured something out. But really, you went about it the wrong way. And he sure the hell did, by throwing a grappling hook from the wall to the next building over and trying to scale this doing this high wire act, basically. And of course, what happens? Well, Spencer is not exactly what we'd call, the G.I. Joe. So his wire scaling skills are not exactly up to par. So halfway through, right over the top of a gigantic zombie horde, he loses his grip and starts to fall.
This is almost like a zombie piñata.
It really is. I mean, that is a big zombie meal just dangling right there, and it's just hanging on to a metal roof. Of course, his weight and the grappling hook, it's pulling the flashing out. He doesn't have that good of a grip on it. The grappling hook lets go, and he goes swinging down into the horde up against the wall. And there's no choice but Rick and who else is up there? What the Rosarita?
I think we saw Morgan show up, and there was the guy that was talking to Rick, and basically telling Rick that whenever you came in here, you were looking around, seeing things that we couldn't see. And he goes, "I guess they were really there. We just didn't know they were there."
Yeah,
and I don't know. I don't remember the character's name, but he's an Alexandrian, and he started helping. I believe it was he that started helping Rick pull Spencer up, and then
he was the one that was helping
up.
Rick shore up the fence,
right?
Earlier, and what is his name? He's got a Tobin. Tobin is his name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he's kind of the big guy.
Yeah.
We see him wearing flannel a lot. You kind of would think of him as a lumberjack almost, just clean shaven. So definitely a guy who knows construction. He's got muscle. He's got a good head on his shoulders, but he's very, very reluctant to do anything about what he feels or what he thinks.
Not necessarily a leader. Make the hard choices. Now, did you notice that through that ordeal, Spencer lost a shoe?
Yes, I did. I saw that, and I was like, "Oh, one of them got a finger on that." Did you? Yeah. So I don't know if that was in the script or not. I did see some behind the scenes in the making of that scene, which was pretty interesting. Yeah. And I don't know if that was in the script, because this was all done by the actor who plays Spencer. There was no stunt double in this one.
Okay.
And there was a lot going on. He said he was actually, because of everything, that the heat and the camera, the direction, and there literally was a zombie horde underneath them. Obviously, it was all actors, but the actors and the makeup, and you get this heat and the smell of all these people that are hot and in costume and makeup.
Ooh,
and he's
really
just
hot,
like, hanging over this horde. You kind of feelings kind of start to come in. Your mind starts to kind of create.
You can kind of freak yourself out, even if you're just in a room by yourself.
There was a little bit of that, and especially when he got the direction to drop. That's when the adrenaline really kind of kicked in. And obviously, guys, these actors are having an awesome time making this show, because it really shows.
Well, they get to play. I mean, the same things we used to do when we were kids, and we go outside and imagine things together and play those characters. So they actually get to do it and get to have millions of people and a couple of knuckleheads criticize them on how they make it and what they do. Well, so anyway, I just thought that was very interesting how, and I guess that's really how a real person is. They do good things, they do bad things, they do things that don't make sense. And it didn't make sense to me if he's, he does this nice speech, and then he steals the food, and then he rags on his mom about it, and now he goes off trying to save Alexandria. It just didn't add up.
Come to save the day.
Yeah, exactly. So it just wasn't adding up. But I guess it's just a complex character, although he doesn't seem very complex.
No, he does. He's not exactly what I'd call the brightest bulb in the sign, but best intentions and all that. Rick certainly gives him a good chewing out.
Mm-hmm.
And again, best of intentions, but when I first saw him, it's like, what's that? And
Yeah.
here's this guy, across the grappling hook wire and stuff like that. Over the fence line. I'm like, oh crap. It's a spy. That's one of the wolves or something like that. And then we find out that it's Spencer, and it's
Right.
like, what?
Yeah,
That doesn't make any sense.
No, it didn't.
So
And the fun thing was after whenever I forgot her name now. Deanna was thanking Rick for saving her son's life, and he says, "Well, there was a moment there that I thought about just taking off,
yeah.
and going and getting in the car and
So
pulling
that
zombie horde away."
interaction, she asks him, why'd you do it? And his answer was because he was your son.
Yeah,
And
she
she
buy
said
that.
that's the wrong answer. What the hell's that supposed to mean?
She didn't believe him. He was lying to her
So why did he do it then?
because it's the right thing to do. He's a good guy. He's there to save people.
No, that's not the Rick I know. Come on.
That is the Rick. That is the Rick we know, and that's the reason why.
No, it is. It is. And
Morgan
and that's
is
kind
back.
of what that was all about.
Yep.
She's like, no, that's not the real answer. That's not the right answer. Come on, it's just letting him know that she's seeing through his BS. I think.
Yeah. Well, with Morgan there, I mean, Morgan, the craziness that he is kind of Rick's moral compass. It's a time back to whenever Rick was just Rick, and he was learning about all that had happened.
I'm glad you brought up Morgan because there was another point in the show where everything kind of stopped and we got some really one-on-one focus with Rick and Morgan. There was a couple times where it's like, okay, Rick, to Morgan, kind of need to talk to you. Okay, we'll do it later.
I was afraid they were going to break up.
I thought there was going to be a fight or something,
Yeah.
or, contention or something. And then, in a way there was, because Rick confronts Morgan about, hey, did you know those people that you let go in when Alexandria was attacked? Yeah, they're the reason why I had to run through the gate and not drive the RV through the gate. So that raises an interesting question, because although Morgan let these people go and then they later attacked Rick, is that the last we've seen of the wolves? Was that the last of the group? Did the entire wolves group attack Alexandria? And if so, they were all dispatched except for the handful that Morgan let go. And those were the ones that attacked Rick at the RV.
Yeah,
and
and
as
he
we all
killed
know,
those.
Rick dispatched all them.
Yeah.
So are the wolves done? Is that
Well,
the last we've seen of
I
them?
guess he looked down. He shot through the wall with the automatic AK-47, and he looked down. They were all in a huddle, in a pile. Doesn't mean that they were all dead. But possibly
possum.
is. Well,
Playing possum,
there
you
may
think?
be one or two. I mean, I think he probably got all. There was like 3 or 4 of them that were outside sliding along the thing. But I'm almost thinking that was the entire group, because you don't go and attack a fortified structure without everybody going. I mean, there's no reason to take half your crew unless you have a really big crew, I guess. But I think the focus is going to be on the one that's left alive, the one that Morgan is talking to the psychiatrist / medical doctor about how to treat his wounds.
That whole storyline is getting a little bit more attention than I think that it should. Now, Carol is kind of really curious about Morgan and what he's doing. The nurse is curious about what Morgan is doing because he's asking for antibiotics and let her know that it's not for him. So,
well, that's the doctor,
right?
Okay.
So, we got Carl, Carol, and the doctor all going after Morgan and what he's doing in this, with this
jail,
lone wolf in the jail or whatever. Yeah. So very, very interesting. I'm curious to see what's going to develop there, because I wasn't 100% convinced that one wolf had a bite. or a
maybe
scratch.
not.
It looked like it was just maybe a hatchet wound, or I mean, a hacking from a machete wound or something like that.
Mhm.
It didn't look like he would be infected, but it did look like that if he didn't get medical treatment, he would die. And if Morgan doesn't give him medical treatment, that's the same as Morgan killing him. And I'm wondering if that's what this is all about, or if there's something more to it.
Well, the way Morgan approached it with the psychiatrist, now doctor, he didn't approach it as a zombie bite. He approached it as an injury, something that.
But he also wasn't being very forthcoming as far as the information goes.
Well, I think he even said he didn't want to bring her into something that she may not want to be a part of.
Yeah, no, he's going about it very smartly. I'll definitely give him that.
Well,
but
I thought it was great that Carol was sitting there whenever they were talking, and she's like, Carol is just badass. I know I've said it before, but I never would have thought her character would have come to that point in this story.
Really? Yeah, really. Well, here's something we didn't think was going to happen, that the walls of Alexandria have fallen. Well, one of them has, and at the hand of the steeple from the church that was ran into by the semi during the raid.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole wall had fractured, and the steeple came crashing down the wall. And it looks like they had kind of expected that. It looks like they had assumed this was going to happen, and that's where all the reinforcement of that section of the wall was coming from.
I'm surprised they didn't reinforce the steeple. I mean, you could see that crack that was in there. I'm surprised they didn't run some boards across it.
Well, I'm surprised that they didn't get a landline going to that or something. Tie something off around through the window post or the header or something like that, and get a cable down to the wall. But I guess they probably couldn't do that
because it would have been outside,
zombies and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, so
you'd have to lasso a bunch of zombies and tell them to head north.
Yeah, mule. Yeah.
Well, I'm sad that it's going to be over for a while. Do you know when it's starting back up? Or are we going to have to wait till February?
I don't.
Or something?
I figure we'll go ahead and announce that date when we cover the mid-season finale. We'll let you guys know just how pissed off we are that we're going to have to sink into a bit of a show hole for God knows how many months until they figure they want to bring this show back. And I hope it will, of course.
I hope it's enough episodes to get some resolutions to these things, to some of these answers before we have to wait another year and a half before we see it again.
As we know, I kind of left you guys with a little bit of a spoiler that the season is going to end on a gigantic cliffhanger.
Oh, of course.
And with the announcement, with the introduction of a new character, which is going to bring hell, hath, and fury down upon Alexandria, at least according to the comic book.
It's going to be the governor's evil twin.
Oh, yeah, and evil with the nth degree. So
it would be evil.
Yes, many E's. Yeah, but so what do you think about the zombie horde pouring into Alexandria?
I don't think it's going to be as bad as what we expect it to be.
I agree, and here's why: we have some big guns on scene.
That's true.
And
now people are carrying them. Well, we have a whole bunch of RPGs coming back. That's very true. Let's make bigger holes.
Those are riding against a very bloodthirsty Abraham who's just itching to blow some zombie heads off, especially with some RPGs.
Well, he's got some beer in him now, and one of them stogies, that flat top haircut, he's ready to blow some shit up.
Yep. So those rocket propelled grenades, those will come in handy, and I imagine that gigantic tanker truck full of fuel that would work really well as a flamethrower.
I wonder how many zombies you could blow up with a single rocket propelled grenade. I bet you could take out most of those zombies with those 4 RPGs.
Well, so if you guys remember the episode before, I was talking about the burnt forest that Daryl was walking through, and how I had seen something on an interview with one of the actors talking about the producers and the director, how they don't let anything just go by the wayside. If there is something that is shown or depicted in the show in some way or another, it means something.
Yeah,
it has a place.
Right.
It's there for a reason. Like the burnt forest, it was there for a reason, and we know now that this other group that's out there are the ones who burnt that down, And how they did it, most likely, is with that tanker truck full of fuel. So I'm thinking that that's going to come in very handy, especially now that Daryl knows that, hey, you burn a zombie to crisp, they're done. And so now he's got that. They got the rocket propelled grenades. I think the cavalry is on its way. And even when it looks like it's the worst that's going to happen, this zombie horde is pouring into Alexandria. This is it for the town. Here comes the cavalry up over the hill with rocket propelled grenades and a whole bunch of flamethrower fuel.
Well, I just hope he and Sasha, Abraham and Sasha aren't having a little love fest, and they're late in getting back.
Yeah. So it'll be very interesting to see how this wraps up. I'm sure that the mid-season finale is not only going to be extremely intense, but I think is also going to leave us with a little bit more of a cliffhanger. What that means, what's going to happen, I don't know, but they can't leave it on a, well, that's nice type of note. It's going to have to be, like, and it's like, no. I need closure. I need more. I need something. And that's how I think they're going to leave us. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this next episode wraps up.
Josh, I'm pretty sure that if we invent a time machine so that we can watch the future episodes,
I'm gonna get right on that.
The future episodes of The Walking Dead, we could make a deal with the U.S. government where there would be no copyright infringements, that they wouldn't be able to do anything to us, the Walking Dead group. So we just need to go ahead and work on that time machine so we can watch those future episodes.
Yeah.
We will just blow people away with telling them exactly what's going to happen before it happens.
Oh, well, I've been pretty close on a number of predictions, and I've hit a couple right on the dot. So
that was Rick running back, but not Glenn. I told you about Glenn. I told you.
Yes, I'm with you there.
You have to have pizza in the new post-zombie world. So you have to have people with experience delivering those pizzas.
Yeah.
And we're going to deliver the next episode to you and what we think about it next Wednesday. So you got to be here and find out what Tony and Josh think about The Walking Dead and the mid-season, probably mid-season cliffhanger. I can't imagine that they would just let it go out on a nice positive note.
No, there's no happy endings in the zombie apocalypse. Come on.
All right. Well, if you're now, it's around Thanksgiving time that we're recording this, so we'll say Happy Thanksgiving, even though you're not hearing it. So happy leftovers. We'll leave it at that.
There we go.